Good morning and good afternoon. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about how to input um, problems into our Desmos calculator. We're going to talk about Introduction to Basics of Desmos. We're going to be talking about adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing integers, squares, cubes, square roots, function inputting, linear equations, and of course doing quadratics and a couple of exponential functions, and then of course our mixed review. The way I like to do it is I like to do a side-by-side with Desmos calculator, and I like to go problem by problem, so then that way I can show you how to input the calculator. What I would recommend on all my problems is that I would recommend to number one, first do it on your own without my guidance, and then checking my videos just to make sure that you get the problem correctly. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to do the introduction of basics of Desmos. We're going to be covering adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing integers using our Desmos calculator. So how do you find the Desmos calculator? You go ahead and you go and find the Desmos calculator. It is a graphing calculator. So all you have to do is Google Desmos, and of course you have to do it specifically to your state. I am the state of Texas, so again, I am going to be using the Texas version as our students are going to be taking our STAR assessment. So I will be using the Texas version. Again, it is specific to your state test and your state calculator. So I'll go ahead and get started. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the basics of adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing integers. So like I said, I'm going to have a side-by-side here. I'm going to have my good notes. I'm going to be writing my good notes. And then I'm going to be inputting into Desmos. So how do you input this kind of problem? Well, you're going to input it exactly the way it is. So we have our Desmos calculator here ready to go. And I'm going to go ahead and cover the first problem. And the first problem is -3 plus -4. All I'm going to do is input -3 plus -4. So it is -3 plus -4. And the answer is -7. And again, you let Desmos always do all the work. And I'm going to push a X so I can get a new problem. And I'm going to input the next one, -5 plus -2. -5 plus -2. And that is -7. So that is the answer, -7. The next one, number 3, is -6 minus 4. I'm just going to input it the way it is, -6 minus 4. And that is -10. And then I'm going to go ahead and input it the way it is, -2 minus 5, -2 minus 5. And the next one is -7. Now the next problem, you see that we have parentheses, so we're going to have to input it exactly the way it is. And again, Desmos will do the work for us. -6 minus -4. Open parentheses right here, and then we're going to put the -4, close parentheses, and the answer is -2. So no longer do you have to know the rules to get the problems. Desmos will do all the work for us. The next one is going to be -3 minus -5. And the answer is +2. So all I'm doing is inputting it exactly the way I see it on the paper. And you let Desmos do the work for you. So 4 minus 10. And the answer is -6. And that is actually a -6 right there. So let me go ahead and fix that up for you. Get a little eraser. And go ahead and do -6. Okay, the next one, 8 minus 15. I'm going to go ahead and subtract it. 8 minus 15. And the answer is -7. And then I'm going to go on to -6 times -4. So again, I'm going to input it exactly the way it is. You do know there's a multiplication there, an imaginary multiplication. So I'm going to do -6, open parentheses, -4, close parentheses. And it is +24. That's a 2, and that is a 4. And then I'm going to do -8 times -3. So I'm going to put in -8 times -3. And by pushing the times, it automatically forms the dot. So that is also a 24. And then we have -5 times 2. Negative 5 times 2, that is a negative 10. We have a 5 times negative 4, so I'm going to go ahead and input 5 times negative 4. And that gives me negative 20. 8 times negative 3. That gives me a negative 24. That is a 2. And then the next one is negative 3 plus negative 6 plus 9. So I'm going to input it exactly the way it is. Negative 3 plus negative 6 plus 9. The answer is 0. And the next one I'm going to input it the way it is. Negative 4 plus negative 8. I do the parentheses. I don't have to do parentheses, but if I want to, I can. Close parentheses, plus 3. Plus, open parentheses, negative 6. Close parentheses. So the answer is negative 4 plus negative 8 plus 3 plus negative 6 gives me negative 15. And the last one that I'm going to do is negative 3 plus negative 5 minus 6 gives me a negative 14. So we don't need to know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide integers. We don't need to know how to multiply fractions. Why? Desmos will do it all for us. So the second thing I'm going to teach you is how to do the cubes and the squares and any number that has an exponent. So the way you do the squares is you say, well, what is 3 squared? Or 3 to the second power? I input 3, and I look at the little a to the second, and I put it there, and it gives me the number 9. Now I'm going to go across, and I'm going to go to this one right here, and I'm going to say, well, how do I do 3 to the third? It doesn't have 3 to the second, so I'm going to go ahead and put 3, and then I'm going to do the AB right here. You can see right here, AB raises the power, and I'm going to put the little 3. And that gives me a 27. And I'm going to go across so I can see how do I do 5 to the 6. Well, I do the same thing. And I'm going to do 5 to the AB, 6. And then Desmos gives us the answer. It is 15,625. So a calculation that would have taken us 5 to 10 minutes will take us 5 to 10 seconds, as long as we input it correctly. So then I'm going to go down and continue the squares. Can I use the AB button to get the 2? Of course I can. So I'm going to do 4 to the AB second power, or I can use a square. The next one is 16. Then I'm going to go to the next one, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. And I'm going to do 5 to the AB second, and it's going to be 25. And then I go 5 to the AB second, and the answer is 36. And then I'm going to go 4 to the cubed, so I'm going to go 4AB to the cube, which is a 3, and the answer is 64. And then I'm going to go 8 to the cube, which gives me 8 to the AB 3, and that gives me 512. And then I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to say, well, what is 9 cubed, or 9 to the third power? 9 to the AB 3, and that's going to give me 729. And I'm going to go ahead and do the bigger powers, 4 to the 4 power, which is the one after the one we did. So I'm going to go ahead and input 4, AB 4, and that gives me 256. And look at 3 to the 7, something that would have taken me 5 minutes. I just input 3 to the AB 7 power, and that gives me 2,187. And then last but not least, I'm going to do 8 to the fourth power, which is 8 to the AB 4, and the answer is 4029. And that's how easy I do squares, cubes, or any type of exponent. Next, the keyword for equivalent. Don't forget that it does mean equal. And once again, I'm going to start going into square roots. And this is a square root. Desmos can do it for us. And do remember that the only thing that they will be asking you on the STAR test is square roots if they're equivalent. So I'm going to go ahead and input square root right here. You see the square root right here. press square root, and then I'm going to get square root of 16. It's two numbers I multiplied to give you 16 that are the same, which is 4. So the square root of 16 is 4. So that's all I'm going to do to get square root. So automatically Desmos does it for us. Then I'm going to go to the square root of 25. Just input it, and the answer is 5. And look at how quick Desmos does it for us. The next one I'm going to do is the square root of 36. So I'm going to put square root of 36. And the answer is 6. Then I get the square root of 64. The answer is 8. Then I go to square root of 81. So I'm going to put square root of 81. The answer is 9, because 9 times 9 gives us 81. Now I'm going to start running into some decimals. So just for the sake of me showing you how to do decimals, I'm just going to have you do it like, think about it as money. So I'm going to put square root of 131. And we're not doing any type of rounding. We're just practicing on Desmos. So the answer is $11.44. And once again, we are not doing rounding. We are just practicing how to input it on Desmos. Then you go to the next one, and then you do square root of 80. And then I'm going to put square root of 80. And the answer is $8.94. And then I'm going to go ahead and input square root of 35, square root of 35, and it is $5.91. And again, I'm not working on rounding. I'm just going to practice on Desmos. 2 square roots of 3, I'm going to put in 2, then I put the square root, and then I do the 3. And the answer is 3.46. Then I'm going to go ahead and do 5 square roots of 7. 5 square roots of 7. And the answer is 13.22. 12 square roots of 11. The answer is 39.79. And the last thing is 25 square roots of 3. So I'm going to go ahead and input 25 square roots of 3. And the answer is 43.30. And that is how you do square roots. So once again, very easy. Desmos does all the work for us. So the next one that I'm going to deal with is going to be taking care of functions. So one of the things that's very important that we need to identify in functions, we don't need to worry about f of x when we deal with Desmos. So we want to scratch out our f of x. We got to make sure that we look at the x value of each function. So if you look at find f of 4, I'm going to go ahead and underline it in purple. And you're going to see that x is equal to 4. So that is the only work that we have to do here. And then if I look at the next one, well, f of negative 4, x is negative 4. And x is negative 8. This is all the work that we have to understand. So what we're going to do is we're going to input it into this equation right here. I'm going to move this out of the way. And I'm going to look at the x. So in this equation or in this function where I evaluate 4, all I'm going to put in place of x, I'm going to put 4. Here on this function, I'm going to, well, x is negative 4. I'm going to put in place of x, I'm going to put negative 4. And in place of x, I'm going to put negative 8. So let me go ahead and show you. And remember that we don't have to worry about the f of x. It's just there to distract us. So we're really worried about this expression that we're dealing with. So then that way we can just get a function. So let's go ahead and put it in Desmos. So I'm going to go ahead and get Desmos ready. And I'm going to say, well, what is 3? I'm going to do the 3. I'm going to open parentheses. And I'm going to say, well, what is x that I'm evaluating for? So right here, I'm going to look at the red, right here, or the orange. And I'm going to say, well, what is x right here? So x is 4. I'm looking at this function. So I'm going to put 4 minus 5, close parentheses, and I copy it the way. And how do I get my square? I can do a to the second or ab to the second. And then I'm going to subtract 6, and there it is. Desmos will give us a negative 3. So once again, what am I doing? I'm just inputting the value. So x is negative 3. So I'm going to go ahead and delete it. So then that way we can see it one more time, and I can take you step by step on how to do this. So once again, the answer is -3. How do I get that? First step, I got to get the f of x. I'm not paying attention to x. I'm going to get the value of x is 4. So in place of x, all I'm doing is replacing 4. So I'm going to re-input so you can see 3, copied here, 3, open parentheses, right here, open parentheses, x, and x is 4, minus 5, close parentheses, square. I can also do ab to the second, whichever you feel like doing, minus 6, and the answer is -3 as a function. Now I'm going to do the next one, so I'm going to do it in blue. And I'm going to underline. Well, this time I'm evaluating f of -4. Well, what is x right here? X is now going to be -4. So I'm going to re-input it so you can see it. 3, open parentheses. I'm going to say, well, x is -4 here. So x is -4 here. X is -4 minus 5, close parentheses. Then I'm going to do the square. I'm going to do ab to the second power. And right here, since I did the ab to the second power, one of the things that you have to know, you have to bring it back down to the ground. So I'm going to have to do the space. Anytime I do ab, I have to bring it down. So I bring it down. And then I do minus 6. So the answer is 237. And then once I do that one, I'm going to do the next one right here. So now I have x is -8, and in place of x, I'm going to put -8. So I'm going to re-input it here with Desmos. 3, open parentheses. What is x? X is -8, so I'm just going to input it. -8 minus 5, close parentheses, square, and the answer is 507. And that is how easy it is to input it in Desmos. So we're going to look at the next expression. So I'm going to look at g of x, and remember that g of x, I'm going to get rid of g of x. I'm going to go ahead and get Desmos cleared so we can go ahead and do it. So in this one, I'm going to do 4, open parentheses, 8 minus whatever x is, square, plus 5. And again, you got to write down those parentheses. So in place of x here, I'm going to just put the expression right here, -12. So once again, x is equal to -12. That's all I have to do. So I'm going to go ahead and input it. And remember g of x, I don't need to pay attention to g of x. All I have to do is pay attention to this expression and evaluate it. So I'm going to say 4, open parentheses, 8 minus x, and minus x is -12. So once again, I'm going to have a double negative. Close, raised to the ab square. Got to put it back down. So I'm going to go ahead and put my space. It comes back down, and then I'm going to go plus 5. And the answer is 1605. And once again, very easy. So here, I'm going to evaluate g of x is -16. So I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to say, well, x is -16. So I'm going to go ahead and input it for, open parentheses, 8 minus, what is x here? Minus -16, close parentheses, to the square, positive 5, and then I get my answer as 2309. And then last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and shrink it a little so you can see the problem. I'm going to go ahead and do here, x is 13, so I'm going to just re-input it to get our practice. So I'm going to input 4, open parentheses, 8 minus, what is x here? 13, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. 13, close, raised to the square, positive 5, and the answer is 105. So I recommend you try the problem, work it out, and then after that, use my video to check your problems. So the next one that I am going to work is this one. Given h of x, 1/3. Now I'm going to teach you how to input this into Desmos via fraction. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and in the orange, I'm going to go ahead and X out the h of x because we don't need it. Remember, x is negative 8, x is negative 6, x is 211 or 221, and I'm going to use 21. Once again, I can go ahead and just change it, and it is 21. Just the parentheses went crazy. So then I'm going to input in place of x whatever the value is for the function. So now I'm going to show you how to input it via our Desmos calculator. So let me go ahead and do this one. So I'm going to get rid of this. How do I input a fraction into Desmos? Because remember that I'm looking at this expression right here. So I'm going to input 1 divided by 3, and it changes into a fraction, but right here I have to push the space bar. You see right here the space bar, or I can click right here. And then I'm going to open parentheses. I'm going to do 3 plus, what is the x here? Well, I want to evaluate x is negative 8. So I'm going to go ahead and say negative 8, close parentheses, square, and then I go minus 6, and the answer is 2.33333. And just to get the practice, I'm going to put it in money format, 2.33. And if you know math, you can do the little line over the thing, which means repeating decimal. So the next one I'm going to do is x is negative 6. So I'm going to go ahead and do the fraction, 1/3, 1 divided by 3, space. I'm going to open parentheses. I'm going to go ahead and do 3 plus x. What is x here? Negative 6. So I'm going to put in minus 6. Close parentheses, square, minus 6. And the answer is negative 3. Now I'm going to shrink it a little so then you can see the last one. And I'm going to evaluate for 21. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one. I'm going to do 1 divided by 3, space, open parentheses, 3 plus 21, close parentheses, square, minus 6, and the answer is 186. Okay, and the last one that I'm going to do with evaluating of functions, once again, we're going to look at evaluating of functions. And evaluating of functions is right here. And we're going to evaluate this. And then, of course, you're going to get rid of the f of x. Here, we're going to evaluate f of negative 3, f of negative 23, and f of 16. So let me go ahead and clear it so you can go ahead and look at the problem a little bit more clearer. And then, once again, all I'm paying attention to is going to be get rid of the f of x. And I am only paying attention to this right here. So right here, x is negative 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to evaluate this function, and I'm going to put 3, open parentheses, and then I'm going to put x. And what is x? Negative 3. So I'm going to put negative 3 plus 6, close parentheses. And then this time I have to do a cube, so to the third power, so it's ab to the 3, space, plus 4, and the answer is 85. Now I'm going to do the next one, and now I'm going to evaluate for f of negative 23. So in place of x, I'm going to put negative 23. So I'm going to go ahead and practice 3, open parentheses, negative 23 plus 6, close parentheses, and then I'm going to do AB to the 3 power, positive 4, and the answer is, let me just check it, 3, open parentheses, negative 23 plus 6, close parentheses, raised to a 3 plus 4, and the answer is negative 14735. And then the last one that I'm going to evaluate, I'm going to go ahead and evaluate f of 16. So I'm going to go ahead and evaluate that one. And then I'm going to go ahead and input 3, open parentheses, and right here 16. So I'm going to go ahead and put 16 plus 6, close parentheses, AB to the 3, AB to the 3, plus 4, and the answer is 31,948, and that is a 3. So once again, I hope this has helped you on evaluating functions. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and evaluate linear expressions, equations, and pretty much just anything to do with equations. So if you need to know a little bit more about how we got linear equations, how to figure out linear equations, how to work linear equations, once again, check out my previous video that has linear equations, and I take you through it step by step. What we have to do is we got to say, well, right here, y equals mx plus b. The number next to the letter is always going to be our slope. So once again, a line going up is a positive slope. A line going down is a negative slope. A 0 is a 0. And of course, it goes up and down. It's undefined. So once again, if I give you an equation that gives you y equals to 3x plus 6, I'm going to go ahead and underline the number next to the x, and that is called our slope, or that is called my rate of change. Both of them are exactly the same. One of the things that I want you to remember is that here in blue, if you look at this blue, this is called my x-axis or my domain, and then the one going up and down is my y-axis and domain. And remember, the points are x, comma, y. And of course, you're going to have your alphabetical order. So your domain is your x, your range is your y. So all those lessons have already been pre-recorded from first semester. So if you need a little bit more before I jump in, then go ahead and check out my previous lessons. Once again, you're going to get a line. And that line right here is going to be called, where the line crosses the x-axis, it's called your x-intercept. It's also called your 0. So that is my x-intercept or my 0. And then, of course, in the red, that is called my y-intercept that I have there. So those are the features that I'm going to be looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and take you through a couple of these via our Desmos calculator. And I believe this will be a good stopping point in regards to where we're going into in our practice. So once again, I am going to look at given an equation. And once again, I don't have to worry about this y. If it is when y equals mx plus b, Desmos loves this. So what I'm going to input into Desmos is I'm going to input this in red, and I'm going to go ahead and get my slope. But before I get my slope, remember the slope is the number next to the letter. So in blue, the slope, I already know, is going to be 3. If I go to letter B, all I'm going to do is input this into Desmos and let Desmos do the work. But again, it isn't y equals mx plus b. My slope is going to be 2. Now, how do I find my x-intercept and y-intercept? Well, let's go back to letter A. And I'm going to put in that in red into Desmos, and I'm going to let Desmos do the work. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 3x plus 6, and I get my graph, and I get my x-intercept right here. This is my x-axis, so it's negative 2 comma 0, and then I get my y-intercept by looking at this graph, and that is my y-intercept 0 comma 6. So I'm going to go ahead and shrink it. So my x-intercept is negative 2 comma 0 because it crosses the x-axis, and my y-intercept is 0 comma 6, and once again it will stay stuck. So the first thing they ask me is, what is my y-intercept? My y-intercept is 0 comma 6, and then my 0 or my x-intercept, I'm going to unclick this. This is my x-axis, and my x-intercept is negative 2 comma 0. And what would have taken us 5 to 10 minutes, Desmos did in about 20 seconds or less. So once again, I'm going to go to letter B, and we're going to go ahead and find slope. Slope is this number right here, so we already found it. Now I'm going to find my y-intercept, so I'm going to go ahead and input this equation part into Desmos. So it's going to be 2x minus 8 And then once again, I'm looking for my y-intercept. Where does this red line cross the y-axis? And it crosses right there at 0, negative 8. So that 0, negative 8 is my y-intercept. And remember, I unclick it, and I'm going to click this one. And my x-axis or my x-intercept is 4, 0. And that is my x-intercept or my 0. And again, the next one that we're going to do is C. And automatically I can see that my slope is going to be negative 4. Why? Because it's a number next to the x. So my slope is negative 4. This is my slope, and my slope is negative 4. Now, I'm going to input this into Desmos and let Desmos do the work. So I'm going to go ahead and look at this in red. And I'm going to input negative 4x minus 5. And I get my x-intercept. My x-intercept is negative 1.25, 0. And my y-intercept is 0, negative 5. So once again, my y-intercept, where it crosses my y-axis, is 0, negative 5. And my x-intercept, I'm going to get rid of this one, and I'm going to get my x-intercept. My x-intercept is negative 1.25, 0. And last but not least, negative 5x plus 2. Once again, my slope, just by looking at this, look at the line, my slope is negative 5. Now I'm going to input this part into Desmos, and I'm going to let Desmos do the work. So I'm going to go ahead and input, I'm going to put in negative 5x plus 2. And if you want to put y, you can put y, just never put f of x because it confuses us. And now I have my graph. Sometimes I have to enlarge it, and sometimes I go crazy like this, and I say, well, I can't see it, I can't see it, I can't see it. Anytime you go crazy that way, and you have big numbers, all you have to do is press this little house right here, and it reverts it back to normal. There's always a little house under the plus and minus sign. So now I have this back to normal, and I can always enlarge it, and I get my x-intercept. My x-intercept is 0.4, 0. And then I'm going to find my y-intercept, and my y-intercept is right here, and that is 0, 2. And that is my slope, that is my y-intercept, and that is my x-intercept. So next step, I am going to show you how to input tables and how to get the slope, how to get our slope, y-intercept, x-intercept, and how to fill out this equation. So how do we get our table? Well, it's very easy. All you have to do is press this plus sign, and you get these functions. Never press f of x. You're going to push table. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy this table onto Desmos. And again, if you forget what comes first, x, y, it gives it to you right here. Then you have negative 1, and all I'm going to do is copy it exactly the way I see it. I'm going to go ahead and input 0, 0. And I'm going to input 1, 4. And then I'm going to go here, and I'm going to find this little leaf. And everyone see the little leaf. I'm going to press it, and I get my equation right here. So my equation is going to be, and I'm going to delete it here. I'm going to clear it. So the equation that I am dealing with here, and let me get an eraser. And then I'm going to go back. And the equation that's given to me here is going to be y equals 4x plus 0. So right here, I'm going to write it, y equals 4x plus 0. And now I have my slope. My slope is 4. So I'm going to go ahead and remember my slope is 4. Then right here, I'm going to go ahead and put this as 4x plus 0. Then I'm going to go ahead and check what the x-intercept and y-intercept is. And once again, the x-intercept, y-intercept, looks like it is 0, 0. It crosses the x-axis at 0, 0. And it crosses the y-axis at 0, 0. So my y-intercept is 0, 0. And my x-intercept is 0, 0. So that is how do you input tables. So we're going to do letter B. So how do we do letter B? So we're going to go ahead and push the plus sign. We're going to go ahead and push table. And we're going to input the table. So we're going to do negative 2. And we're going to do 6, negative 1, 4, and 0, 2. I'm going to push the leaf right here. And then once again, I have the equation right here, y equals to negative 2x plus 2. And what is my slope? Negative 2. It's right here, negative 2. And then how do I get my Desmos? Okay, well, I can't find my graph. All I have to do is press the house. It cuts it back to normal. I get my x-intercept as being 1, 0. I get my y-intercept being 0, 2. So first of all, I'm asking for the y-intercept. The y-intercept is 0, 2. Because it crosses my y-axis at 0, 2. And right here, you got to be careful that you cannot click these because these are not y-intercepts. These are just points on the graph. And then my x-intercept is 1, 0. And then when I fill out the equation right here, it's going to be negative 2, and it's going to be 2. And if I want to rewrite this equation, I do y equals to negative 2x plus 2. And once again, my slope is negative 2, and my y-intercept is right here, and my x-intercept is right here. And the last two problems I'm going to do for today, because we're going to end on slope, we're going to do a given two-order pairs. How do I get my equation? How do I get my slope? Well, the first thing we got to remember is that here it is x comma y. First one is x, and y is the second one. And remember, it is in alphabetical order. So this is going to be all I have to do. The only work I have to do is identify this is x, and this is y, and this is x, and this is y. So then I'm going to input. I'm going to put the plus sign, and I'm going to put it into a table. I'm going to put 3, 6, and no comma needed. And I'm going to put 9, 12, and no comma is needed on the table. Now I have my 2 points. I'm going to press the leaf, and there is my equation. It pops out. Desmos does it for us, and I'm going to get the equation, and I'm going to say, well, it's y equals to 1x plus 3. Once again, in red, I'm going to say my slope is 1, and also on Desmos, the slope is 1. Now I'm going to go to my graph, and I'm going to find my y-intercept, and right here I see my x-intercept right here, and it's got to stay stuck, and my y-intercept is right here. But the first one I want is y-intercept, and it is 0, 3. And then I'm going to unclick here, and then I'm going to get my x-intercept, and it is negative 3, 0. And once again, my slope is 1. And last but not least, I'm going to do the last one, and then we're going to wrap up for today. So then again, x, y is the only work I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and put these two coordinates on a table. So I'm going to come here, and I'm going to put table, and the first one is going to be 4. The y is going to be 12. Second one is going to be negative 4. And the next one is going to be negative 12. Then after that, I'm going to put the little leaf here. I'm going to add regression. It gives me my answer right there. So I'm going to write down my answer where it says equation y equals to 3x plus 0. Automatically, I know my slope. Underline your slope. It's the number next to the letter, which is 3. How do I find my y-intercept? I'm going to look at my table. And look at that. Another one where the x-intercept and y-intercept is the same. 0, 0, and 0, 0. And I believe that concludes our linear equations. What we're going to be covering next is going to be quadratics, and our quadratics are going to be U-shapes. I will continue that on the next video, but again, it's very, very similar to this, except it adds some features. We're still going to have an x-axis right here. We're still going to have a y-axis. We're going to still have x-intercepts. This one has 2 x-intercepts right here. And this one has 1 y-intercepts, but it's going to have a new thing called the vertex. And again, this is a minimum right here because it's at the bottom of the hole. If it's a mountain like this, it's going to be called a maximum. So again, we're still having the x-intercepts. We're just going to have 2. We're going to have y-intercepts 2. And we're also going to have vertexes. And we're going to have something new called the axis of symmetry, which is our x value of our vertex. So once again, I hope this video has helped you. And once again, if you have any questions to any of these topics, go back to my videos that I have for last semester. and those should be able to help you also. Have a great day, and I want to thank you for all your hard work and your dedication for being amazing math students. Thank you.